Let's see what we got. Let's go. Three. Hey, what's going on, party people? Hope everybody's having a wonderful time out there. Now, if this is your first time here, welcome. It's definitely a great pleasure to have you here. Now, I go by the name of Lespri. I am a spiritual healer. And what I do pretty much as a spiritual healer is that I help people to become pretty much Christ like or Buddha like, Krishna like. And what that simply means is that I help you to attain your highest level of consciousness. And if you know anything about the story of Jesus who became the Christ, or even Buddha who was Siddhartha then became Buddha, and Buddha means to wake up. So what we're talking about here, it's a level of attainment. It's an attainment of consciousness, and that being the highest one. When you fully truly know who you are and being Christ-like, so that's a representation of that. That's what that is. And lucky for you, that's what I help you with. You know what I'm saying? So, so how do I do that? Well, I do that pretty much by helping you to become mentally and emotionally balanced. And the reason why that is important is because if you're not mentally and emotionally balanced, how do you attain your highest level of consciousness? How do you have clarity or the best understanding about you? So when we're talking about self-consciousness here, it's knowing you to the to the fullest, or to see the bigger picture, to have it's all part of you too. Becoming godlike or Christ-like, it's also have the one of the clearest or the highest understanding about everything. Not to be a scientist or anything like that, but when it comes to life, your being, there's nothing greater than that. So, I mean, those two have to come together because let's just say if you're too emotional, meaning, and we have all seen it, where you could tell someone you don't see the full picture because your emotions is pretty much is keeping you from seeing certain things or a few details. We see it all the time when people are mad, or sometimes when whatever the situation is. You know what I'm saying? Too emotional, you don't see. It has a direct impact on your vision or your clarity or your mental clarity, pretty much. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're depressed, you're not gonna make the best decision, man. Like it doesn't make sense. Man? And the same thing also goes. Let's just say a lot of people like to look at themselves as being very logical. When you become very logical, or let's just say, for lack of better terms, very mental or too mental. There's no such thing as too mental, but when it's not balanced with your emotions, and that's what I'm trying to say. Because anyway, let's just stay. There's no such thing as being too logic, but when it's not combined with emotions, that's when it becomes a problem. Now you become very rigid, you become very logical, right? And when you suppress your emotions, at this point, you're not seeing things for what they are. You become very closed off, and even if someone is or has appreciation for you, really, you wouldn't be able to see it because it would require your emotions to be emotionally in tune with that. So that's why when you become too rigid, you become very robotic, and you're missing out on a lot of small things. That's why you got to sprinkle some emotions into your logic, and what that does, it allows you to become even more logical at this point. It adds more logic to your logic. So you gotta have, you know what I'm saying? So they have to come together. But for them to come together, they have to, come. I mean, they got. I mean, that is exactly what it is, right? So this has to be balanced, and that is balanced, and now they all come together. They all got to come together, and what that means pretty much is everything I just said. So you got. I mean, first you have to become well, either or, but you have to be emotionally balanced. And what that means, most people sometimes they think it's not to raise your voice or, not to use profanity or to act a certain way. That's bullshit. It has nothing to do with your emotions. If anything, it sounds more of a deceiving thing. Do you see what I'm saying? You putting on a mask. But when we're talking about being emotionally balanced, it's you being in tune with your emotions. Whether that entails you not raising your voice, you may choose not to raise your voice, but it's not the action of not raising your voice that makes you emotionally balanced. Now you're just behaving a certain way. You're pretending now. This is a whole different ball game that has absolutely nothing to do with truly being emotionally balanced. Because sometimes you may choose to let a nigga know, like I always tell people, you know what I'm saying, not to go back and forth, not as you know what I'm saying, but just to clear the air, or just for the sake of yourself. Sometimes you just gotta let a nigga know. That's it. Or you may choose not to, depending on what the circumstances are. Do you see what I'm saying? But nevertheless, being emotionally balanced has to do with you understanding your emotional patterns. If you being triggered, now you have the ability to understand where is that triggers coming from. So you understand your emotional pattern. You also understand if there's any type of emotional blockages. Now you have the ability to remove those. You know what I'm saying? To work on it. Not to let your emotions pretty much have a negative impact on your fucking intellect. And also too, using your intellect too with your emotions. They have to go hand in hand. You keep both of them balanced. It's a perfect harmony. And that's when, and that's what the whole shadow work pretty much, that's what that entails. You understand your early fuck ups, meaning your early disappointments, how they made you see life. You know what I'm saying? Because these things will have an impact on you. I mean, none of us, I mean, we are Superman by understanding these things, but I was trying to say, well, none of us are Superman, nigga. It happens to everybody. But we are truly Superman when you know your weakness. Or not necessarily weaknesses here, but when you know how you operate. I mean, how do you even talk about even being Superman? You don't even know how, or you don't know your full capacities. Do you see what I'm saying? How can you say you're not neither? And the whole shadow work, I mean, that's what it pretty much entails. That's that work. You understanding those early disappointments and now using your logic and understanding and emotions and you embracing yourself and all that shit, you being your number one fan, to understand, hey man, let's take it easy. I mean, we didn't have a better understanding then. You have it now. So either way, I mean, that relationship, you have to maintain that relationship. In the occult, we call it you have to heal the wounded child. And that's simply referring to those early emotions or and disappointments that, let's just say, if you were bitten by a dog, and then let's just say now you're 30 or you 45 years old and you like, what I'm saying, I'm not fucking with dogs, but you don't even know or remember what the fuck happened, or because you had a bad experience too, that doesn't mean, do you see what I'm saying? Like, I mean, a dog, I mean, shit, man. I mean, it's a good thing to have a dog, nigga. Now, you may choose not to have it. I mean, shit, I don't. But I know for me, man, shit, I mean, it's a lot of responsibility. You know what I'm saying? But, for the kids, it's going to be different. You know what I'm saying? For me, I mean, because they're going to have to take care of that. You know what I'm saying? But making a long story short, those early disappointments or experience, will trigger or have an impact on your life. And for you to become fully yourself, because at this point, you're not in charge. You were somehow conditioned to become what you became. Do you see what I'm saying? So, that's why it's important for you to become emotionally balanced. Now, in addition to that, just like we were talking about before, you also would also need to become mentally balanced, because your beliefs shape your mind. And now, that alone, if you understand that, if you understand your beliefs or your understanding of life, shape your life. In other words, your thinking create your reality by the way you see or understand things, and that includes whichever God you choose to serve. You know what I'm saying? That includes a whole bunch of bullshit. And this is how powerful your mind is, because you are creating your reality. That's why you have to understand how is your culture is making you to think. Because as an American, you're gonna have American ways. There's nothing wrong with it, but how is it helping you to be your best version of you? That's what we're talking about here. For you to be the best version of you, shit, that you would have to learn how to technically be an American without being a fucking American. And what that means, pretty much, yes, you were born here, but you're not just gonna take anything for face value because you were born here. And part of a culture, all cultures are biases. You know any culture that says there's another culture that has better food than them? You see what I'm saying? But if you're asking me, I think they're all good, man. You know what I'm saying? Made differently, same food, but cooked differently. You know what I'm saying? And then you understand this. I'm not gonna say it's bullshit, but it's like, okay, you know what I'm saying. So you got to go beyond that. In our culture, I'll give you a perfect example too, man. Like how our understanding of marriage and the reality of marriage are two different things. You know what I'm saying? So if you're gonna go just by the culture, you know what I'm saying, your interpretation of marriage is gonna be love.